Howdys and salutations, y'all! Welcome back to doing some more art fight character sheets here on SiphStreams. You may have noticed that not only do we have music in the background now, but we even have it on the pre-stream screen. And a little secret, it'll keep going on the pause stream too, which I realize isn't that impressive, but every day I'm trying to add a little bit more to the stream, get a little bit more going. One of these days I'll get, like a chatbot actually working. But for starters, we're getting there. A little bit better each time. So, where we left off, let's see, I'm going to go ahead and make this whole mess visible. Oh, cool, not too much mess. Where we left off, I'd figured out some of the CSP tools, and let me tell you, I've been itching to get back to it because I've been doing some reading. Funny how that can be helpful sometimes. Been reading up on the CSP docs, and there's some awesome things which I'd heard of, but didn't have a stinking clue how to use. So, we're going to be jumping into those a little bit today, and hopefully it'll make it even easier. But I gotta tell you, I'm loving the selection tool. That's really getting back into my vibe for the actual type of workflow I enjoy doing. So I'm having a grand old time with that. The one thing I did need to look for though was because there's another thing in here that's real handy. If I can find it, and feel free to tell me if you know where it is and it's killing you that I can't find it. We were gonna see if we could actually get some pose materials going in here. I've been wanting to mess with these for a while. Not necessarily for this initial salt one, but because I need to do a few character sheets and I want to have the characters in kind of the same poses, I'm not going to worry too much about getting the proportions set up on this stream. I'd love to dedicate a whole stream to that sometime. But one of these times we will. However, I just need to get one. Maybe it's not the pose. Maybe what we... Oop, nope, that is the animation timeline, which I do not believe I will be using today unless plans go quite awry, although it would be fun to mess with that again. But no, let's see. Oh, I just had it. File, animation. No, not animation. Perhaps it was under edit. File. Nope, that's manage fonts. Well, how'd I go and lose it? There we go. It's under window. Okay. Perhaps under window 3D. Get body types. Okay, so there's still the V1 and V2. I did a little reading on this as well. So who do we want to do next? This might be a good chance to mess with Olivine, because Olivine needs a little actual character designing too. So we'll pop Salt out into the background for now. We're going to crack open a new vector layer. We're also going to crack open some 3D figures here. So let's just, I guess, pop this on here and see what happens. Oh, jeepers, I don't know if Twitch is going to love that. Maybe not. Maybe we don't use these yet. Let's not. How do we get rid of this? Ah, figured out how to get rid of it. Okay. So maybe we won't mess with those just yet after all. Auto have tested that before stream. The silhouettes. I should have been suspicious of the silhouettes. Anyway, okay, we'll mess with those in the future once we figure out and do some like tweaking, get those maybe a little more stream friendly. But in the meantime, I don't think I need this. I need to actually... Oh, right. Okay, edit option. Let's go back to some other stuff. So in the meantime, we'll go back to some actual poses, working with actual poses, and we'll see if we can use some of the other tricks we've learned. Don't have to do everything on day... Well, I'd say day 1, but we're on day, what, 5 now? Hey, 5 whole days. If this were Ring Fit, they'd be getting excited about that. And truth be told, I am a little bit too. I wasn't sure I'd make it back another week. Cool. Cool. Some soft colors. Other things we ought to look at. Palettes. I will work on that. Whereas Salt has sort of the soft browns and reds and warm tones. Olivine, I don't believe it's complementary, but more of greens and kind of cooler tones. Not that green is inherently a cooler tone, but with Olivine's stuff it will be. I want to actually try to pull on it. Let's see how that is. That's kind of a grassy green. I want to bit more blue. Let's get it closer to minty. Yeah, it's a small difference, but it's a difference. Ah, I left it on the wrong one. I was like, I know this is a vector layer. Why isn't this working? Zoop, zoop, zoop. Okay. We'd even push this a tad mintier, really. I don't want to go too far. I still want it to be Olivine. Not that that's really a... It's not like Olivine is a... Yeah, like minty, mossy green, but it's, it's a fun green. I will say, if I taper off a little bit today, I am real stinking tired. It has been a wild day. Um, Not an exciting one, mind, for anyone, but it's been a day. So we're gonna just sort of take it easy and try to have some nice chill vibes. Maybe regroup, go into tomorrow with a little bit better of a start to the day. I hope. I mean, that's what you always hope. You hope that you end the day off. However you end it off, you hope the next day you can get a fresh start that's a little bit better. Or at least as good. Okay, so if we're talking posing, then let me actually dig this out and see what the original posed shapes... Okay, I need to make this... No, I need to make this visible, but then I need to hide all the other stuff. Please ignore as salt vanishes. Okay, and then this one wasn't really a pose that was working, and this one's easy to recreate, so I may actually just... some fun stuff. Get back some of these. Yeah, you can sort of see we were learning more about the layers and such, and getting some actual shading going, which I am excited about, again, real excited about. Okay, but Olivine, we're just going to try to keep to two simple poses. We want the A pose, and then we want sort of like just a dramatic pose. And I kind of want to go 3/4, so I'm going to go back to the... I've got to go and find their name again. The excellent YouTube tutorials where I sort of got this character modeling plan from. Because they gave some excellent advice, and I don't want to use it without giving them at the very least a shout out. So let me go dig those up real quick. Gotta cite your sources. I know teachers say it a lot, but it's true everywhere. You really need to. So let's find... What was it called? It was... Sheet... Tutorial... ABD Illustrates. There we go. Let me see if I can... Yeah, I'm going to pop that one into chat. This is the kind of thing that I'd put in bot in the future so that people could see sort of like what tutorials we're working off of today. Love to get that actual like automated to an extent, but right now we're just going to have to live with it as it is, which is a-okay. Because ABD's tutorials make this part pretty nice. I've got the A pose going, and then got kind of the... I know what Olivine would be going for with the pose. She's much more of a dramatic knight sort. So, obviously this is not an actual A pose. That's just the letter A, drawn somewhat rushedly. Only downside of these vector erasers are the little loose ends. Hanging chads of the art world, I guess. Come on, get out of here. Zoop. I see you. There we go. Okay, so what I want to do, and what I'm hoping we can manage, is I want to actually get those base poses going pretty quick so that we can start on some of the other stuff that's going to be fun. So one of them is just a simple A pose. We'll figure out proportions relative to salt if we ever actually do some comics with the two of them together. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. I'd love to do that. No promises on time frames. Jeesh, no. But Olivine is a bit taller than salt. Let's see, front pose. Ah! Nay. There we go. I'm still on the eraser. Dagnab. Okay, come on. I don't know why I'm doing this one on the G pen as opposed to the sketchy pen. They both kind of work. It'd be nice to get the hang of some of the G pen's more, pressure-based stuff a little more. I don't have great control over it yet. And it looks like it'd be real handy once I can get it actually going. Good for shading, too, if I can get it right. You can add a lot of texture to stuff just by sort of messing around with that sort of thing. But that's not why we're here today. We're here to actually get some poses going. And so with that in mind, we've got Olivine A pose, keeping in mind that hands tend to land around the hips and elbows are kind of at the halfway point. I should clarify, fingertips tend to land around the hips. The actual, like, wrist part is a little higher. So I'm gonna kind of split the difference between those two. And if I'm getting anything wrong here on proportions or anything and someone knows it, again, backseating is not only allowed, but very much encouraged. Correct me if I'm wrong. I am new to this. I'm learning, just like anyone else. So hopefully, that is something that we can all participate in. And y'all will learn right along with me. And be the teachers on some days, too. Because I'm more like the TA in a class. Like, I don't necessarily have the material down, but I know enough of it that I can get us started and help us look in the right direction. Although I guess every sort of TA is a little different, so... Yeah, I mean, I'm sure people have had TAs that were phenomenal and knew everything right from the start, and TAs that didn't even try, so... It's a mixed bag, really. Okay, let's see if we can't get, like, kind of a facey size there. And Olivine's actual shoulders won't be this wide, but I'm thinking with armor and such, they might end up that way. So I'm going to go ahead and just for our super loose base sketch, I'm going to call these Ollie poses. And then for this one, I want a more dramatic pose. Not just with the sample from ABD, which again, if I could figure out how to share the link on that easily, I would totally do so. Big fan of their work. However, we're not quite there yet. So, until then, I'm just going to have to tell y'all to all go find them. I hate to do that, but they're definitely worth finding. ABD's cool. Okay, so then, let's see, we've got sort of this, and technically ABD's guide would have 4 poses by the end, because you'd have these, but you'd also have the reverse side of them, so you could really get the full idea of the entire character model. I'm not messing with that too much. Hopefully, I just need to get something onto Artfight so that I can actually start doing, you know, responses and some stuff with other people. And then we can add more detail and more stuff later. But for now, it's like, there's just not enough to work with. So by the end of the week at the absolute latest, that way we've got a week for responses and other things. Okay, so really, I think in this pose, you'd have a shoulder kind of up. I'm going to scoot it over a little bit more this way. Because I want sort of like this. And then this is going to be a sort of 3/4-y view. It's not like super 3/4-y, but there's like a little bit. Again, proportions are not only not final, but not even properly represented here. It's fine for our purposes. So going off of ABD's posing, which again, cannot suggest enough very cool stuff that they do. ABD illustrates on Instagram, it looks like. I don't think I have an Instagram with Siphimir. I don't have one for my personal self, really. Is that one worth getting into? Is Instagram like a place to be, or is that one like kind of out of date? Snapchat the one that's sort of where people are living right now. Okay, so I want. Really, this one in normal life would be kind of a front view too, because okay, actually, I think I've got it. If we're really gonna do this, this isn't the lasso tool. I mean, it sort of is, but it's not necessarily the one that I need. I want, nope, not shrink selection. I just want the plain old lasso. Because we've got a little bit of tilting to do. Time to get tilted at the towers, as they say. No one says that. But when no one says something, that's when I tend to say it. So, time to get tilted at the towers. Maybe, would this be leaning back, or am I trying to go for more of a... So to explain the pose, I want her holding out the blade, her sword to one side, looking ready to charge. But again, this isn't a direct front A pose. We need sort of a 3/4, so she'd be charging at something that isn't us. Maybe we undo this tilt. Maybe it's more of a proud stance. Sort of blade at the ready, but not in use yet. I'm thinking that's... So then this is going to be sort of a... Not even going to be out, like, it's going to be more, like, kind of angled back. And this one's going to be kind of, like, at the ready. More elbow up, more hand at hip. We'll stick with that. This ended up slightly sassier than I would aim for with Olivine. Olivine's very serious about such things. Sword of some sort. Sharp. Again, details there not as essential. This is just the base poses, and we're already some number of minutes in. If the lower bar on my screen, the start menu, would kindly minimize, I could tell everyone. 15, 16, 17, thereabouts. Close enough. Okay, this'll do for our purposes. I'm going to save this. We're going to check that opacity down just a wee bit, just nudge it down a tad. Now let's get some actual Olivine stuff going, best as I can. For context, Olivine is not nearly so well designed as Salt is. Olivine's a rather newer addition, one of the inventions in the process of creating Feldspar. Because, heaven knows, I can't seem to draw Feldspar for the life of me, but I can build new characters out the wazoo while trying. So I figure if I draw enough Feldspars, maybe I'll have a full cast by the end of it. We'll see, we'll see. Speaking of, thoughts on the stream music? I'm testing out some new playlists, because somehow the previous one that was all lo-fi, no copyright music got a copyright strike on YouTube. Joy of joys. Can't have anything be simple. But that's okay. So we're trying out some different ones, seeing what we find, seeing if they vibe with us. Yeah, this one's nice. I'm not 100% on it. Certainly not committed to it. So if anyone's got suggestions, like, chuck them out there, by all means. Okay, let me take a quick sip of water. Ought to throw like a free hydrate reminder on here too. Or like one channel point or something. Because, whoo boy, I need to hydrate. Saw someone suggest somewhere the opposite, where people have to pay bits to get you to not hydrate, and you have to hydrate every time someone's not giving you bits. I feel like that one would blow up in your face at some point. Either, you know, you're never drinking because chat is so successful, or you're always drinking and you don't have a stream. That might be a fun social experiment for like 30 minutes or something. Okay, I may even chip this down to like 30% even. Even. Okay, so we're going to be sort of doing a little bit of Olivine design. Got some key characteristics. I'm going to see if I can do sort of what we did last time. I make no promises about the same speed with Olivine that I've got on Salt. But I do want to kind of just do this, Oh, I'm on the wrong layer. That's one of the secret benefits of messing with your, transparency. There we go, not luminosity. Messing with your transparency is it makes it a tiny bit more noticeable when you're on the wrong layer. Helps you catch those mistakes before they bite you later. Okay, so we'll get kind of a loop there. Olivine's nose is definitely more of like a chip outward one. Not quite that harsh of an... Yeah, there we go. And then a kind of a harsher chin though. Something like that, yeah. Zoop. Let's see. Don't need quite all this part here. It's causing some... like a little bit. That's a little too scribbly even for my eyes. Maybe we zoom in a little bit on this now that we've got kind of some outlines going in here. If y'all haven't guessed, I've sort of got like a formula for doing these fun little cartoony faces that I follow, not with full precision, but with a bit. That's not quite the right angle for that one, but that's fine. We're gonna pick it up where it's like kind of like, yeah. There we go. Then hair is hardly finalized on Olivine's character design, but for now we'll have sort of tentative ear. That should really line up with the chin a tad more. Catch being that Olivine's ear actually matters a little more than Salt's in terms of the design. So if you've somehow ended up in some horrible challenge where you have to remove the ears of one of your characters permanently and forever, and you've somehow ended up with my characters instead of yours, that would be my request. Keep Olivine's ears. So yeah, when that happens, just a heads up, happens all the time. Be ready for it. Next week, 12 o'clock on the dot. Yeah, maybe not. But when the time for that, well, the time for that will never arise. The time for the time for actually drawing this is definitely here. So, I need to figure out sort of the center curvature of the head here. I want a little bit of forehead brow, not a ton. I think that's reasonable enough. Because Olivine's got this sort of helmet piece up here. That comes down like this. Gonna vanish more around the side of the head over there. And it pokes up like this. Have it stick out a little bit past the head. Points need to be roughly symmetrical on that, best as I can get it. And then we'll use the lovely little vector erase tool, which, if I haven't talked about enough, is awesome. We're just cleaning up some silly stuff like this. Hey. Okay. I've gone and landed in Eraser Land again. Okay. We've got this, and it sort of tapers to not quite a point, because it ends up coming down around here. A little more like this. Yeah, there we go. It needs to kind of be tight on the ear. Yeah, I guess it really is more like that one then. Well, I want it to match the curve a little. It needs to be slightly separate, because this is kind of a moving piece, and I'm trying to think about what it's going to look like in both of its states. So we'll have that come down there. Keeping in mind this is just a quick little doodle sketch. I realized when I was drawing Salt the other day, and we've got that fun little like icon of her now, I totally forgot to include her glasses. They just became big old bubbly eyes, which is fine for this, but technically is off model. Oops. Ah, well. Not like we've got that much of a model to be on anyway at this point. Very much still open to mixing some things up. This is all fluctuating. Yeah, it's not the triangles aren't really showing curvature quite super great, because I'm just penciling them in here, not trying to do anything crazy. She's got a little bit in the way of bangs. Pretty close cut though. There, that feels a little better. We'll even add like a little bit of a bit there. Yeah. But most of Olivine's hair is going to be contained in her sort of hairnet type deal. Which this is going to sort of tie off underneath this, which is part of why the location of the hook matters. Let's see if we can get the angle of this looking a little more right. And I want the kind of the first bump. I know it's a circle, but circles always kind of have these pseudo corners when they're not actual circles and they're real objects. I suppose a lot of real objects are manufactured well enough to be circle-like, but when you're talking about like a bag full of stuff, it's rarely a perfect circle, especially not if you've got stuff weighing it down on one end. I kind of want it to be more like that. Granted, this line's not ideal. Clean it. Ah! No. If we can't clean it up a little bit, chunk by chunk, because I've gone over it too many times. That's bad practice. Not just in the sense of it's commonly accepted to be poor practice, but also it's literally not helping me practice my line work when I do that. So I need to not do that. I mean, even this sort of piecemeal one isn't great, but at least I'm like getting a little more practice nailing curves. Whoops, I thought that one was going to intersect a little more. There we go. Okay. I'm gonna, let's see. I'm gonna make this poke out a little more. And then I'm gonna pick this one up here because I want this to be like a little more prominent, really and truly. I want it to show up on like the thumbnail and the icon as a distinct thing. Back of the hairnet shouldn't line up with it exactly. And it's not a hairnet. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but that's something that I'm still working on. I know I've done one design of her on stream before. Let me see if I can't get a little more character into this ribbon. There we go. Yeah, that's looking a little more... Oops! I don't need to be rotating it. Nothing. Let's reset that. And instead of hitting R, let's hit E. There we go. So we've kind of got the two ribbons going in here. So that leaves us mainly with expression. I'm thinking expression-wise, normally I've got her shocked at whatever the latest antic Salt has gotten up to. We could have Happy Olivine, but it feels kind of out of character. She tends to be stern. Kind of getting Looks like she's just talking there. Shouting. What have you done now? Let's see if we can't get an angry one. Nope, that looks more distressed. Ah, mouth shapes. Always so complicated. In a good way, though, you know? A little hair there. Maybe, maybe not. I like the idea of the ribbons just tying it off. Let's see. If we got that, then really normally eyebrows would be the thing that determine whether this is an angry face or a shocked and sad face. But I'm sure there's a way to do it with just the mouth, because there's plenty of characters that haven't got eyebrows, and yet they're still quite able to emote. Or we could even just try to go with stern. He looks more quizzical there. I haven't decided on a specific like mouth stylization type deal that I do, and the mouths tend to move all over the face when I'm drawing them right now, at least in this cartoony style. Gives you some more like emotions to work with, although that one's horrifying. Let's maybe not have her be that excited. Like, woohoo! I've got teeth. It looks out of character for her. Salt, maybe. Salt could totally do that one. Yeah, I think that this is a reasonable expression for her. Not exactly stern, but it's more looking up at someone trying to explain what the heck happened. Could have teeth. Could have a tongue. Could consider both. Might be too much detail. We'll see. We'll stick with this for now, figure out details later to the extent that they matter. But yeah, so we've got Olivine, got kind of a green and silver color scheme going on. Maybe green and gold. Still got to determine the best color for this little piece right here. Ribbons, I'm definitely feeling green. This, we'll see. We'll see. Could be green, could be something else. We'll have to mix it up a little bit. But back to the matter at hand, now that we've sort of got a kind of whoopsie doodle. Fitting, it's a whoopsie and a doodle. Now that we've got sort of kind of this ref for going off, yikes. Bear with me for a second, y'all. Still getting the hang of these controls, it would seem. Alright, this is not the thing I think it is. I always think that this is going to be the move command, and it's not. It's hidden under this one. Whenever it turns to rotate, it's the hand. This other one, I think, moves layers relative to each other, but that's not exactly helpful right now. And typically what I prefer to do is just use the select tool, because I don't have a lot of layers that need to be consistent with each other, so I'm just moving stuff out of the way. So let's see if we can't get like a little bit of a Olivine design going in here. Doesn't have to be anything super snazzy, just basics. Get a little bit of like actual armor design, something that Olivine has been distinctly lacking up to this point. We'll sort of build off of that and see where we go. So I'm thinking, first off, you've got sort of the chest plate going on, and like big metallic pieces that tend to bury most everything. They're not exactly form-fitting attire, which is good. That's how I kind of prefer it for my characters anyway. Loose and baggy. It's more fun. Makes it more fun to draw with like art with like fabric creases and stuff. And also keeps stuff, you know, from accidentally looking suggestive, which is never what I want. Never, ever, 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 if I can help it. Let's see, and because I'm the artist, typically I can. So, we've got a lot of options with armor. Step one would be to make this, you know, actually symmetrical, but I'm just kind of roughing things in right now. I've always been partial, obviously, to sort of the scarf that starts here to cover up the neck area. You can get kind of capes and cloaks with that. Oh, come on, if we're going to do a cloak, let's get something exciting going. Get some action. But I don't know that that's really quite the look we're going for. I don't think Olivine's got to that tier yet. And it would look a little too similar to Salt's neck piece anyway. With the little small and then kind of the wrinkly superhero looking coat piece. So we don't really want that. We could go with, let's see, I actually went to the library and checked out some medieval attire reference books for when I run out of ideas. Because when in doubt, I go check out what other people have done and see if that gets some inspiration going. Not to copy, although from history, when you're drawing from a historical reference, I mean, yeah. You know. So, if you're trying to make them look medieval and you've got a picture of medieval armor, use that. We could go for kind of an off-the-side piece. That could be fun, and it's sort of fitting for real early stuff. Lets you get some cloak going on in here. A little bit of fun, like wrinkles and such, which are, again, I like drawing fabric. Even if I'm not masterful at it, it's really satisfying. It's very sweeping and helps me snap out of like too rigid of lines, because by default I do like way too rigid of lines, whereas fabric, it's like, no, you've got a point, but you've got to like flow from it. Granted, this is a terrible example because I didn't actually follow any of the rules that fabric follows in physics. Which, let's see, you know, everything always ends up going back to the center point of the tension. And so boom, you've got like wrinkly cloth dangling from, I don't know, a coat rack or something. It's fun. It's fun. You just sort of get some sweeping lines in there, rough it in. Looks good. Obviously, if you want like proper, really good looking fabric with details, there's a lot more to it than that. But when you're trying to outline new ideas for the fabric, that's still like not a bad way to do it. So I'm actually pretty partial to how this one's turning out. I'm thinking, let's see, if we're like that, then you'd want access on that arm for that one. I'm thinking, yeah, okay. But I don't want too many conflicting lines. But we would want perhaps just a normal belt underneath. I'm not sure if we need the full crosswise one. It just uses a regular longsword. I don't need back mount for that necessarily. I sort of want like the rim under here. Like, I'm always bad about drawing poorly. So either it's an excuse for practice to do it, or we'll edit it out of the design later. One of the two. And then we can honestly just sort of get like a kind of a cloaky thing going down here too. And still just kind of roughing things in. I'm not going for like crazy detail because we're in the design stage. Like, I haven't finalized squat about this yet. Pardon me. Guess I need to hydrate again. That's my cue. Short of a hydrate bot, being dehydrated is a good warning that you're dehydrated. Let's see. Trying to keep these on kind of the same level, same view at this point. Which really, if I was smart, I would draw one, mirror it, and copy it over. So maybe I'll do that. I'm trying to think of the best footwear sort. So for context, the plate mail being the exception here, I am actually trying to go for more of an early medieval look for these and for the world in general. As much as the late medieval is really fun and where most fantasy worlds lie, there is something charming about the early medieval. Like, little less advanced, a little less refined. You've got a lot more sort of chaotic, interesting world to explore. A lot of the early Arthurian stories sort of land in this world, and it's really, really so cool how, A, fictional those are, but also how fascinating they are. And the world that they're depicting in their stories compared to the, like, even like the 1200s as opposed to like the 800s or the 600s. A lot of neat stuff. I really ought to read that, I don't remember, it's like an encyclopedia or some such by Isidore of Seville. Very cool work. Unfortunately, my Latin is more than a bit rusty, so that might be a slight challenge. But I'm thinking, maybe let's try leather boots. Let's see how those work. Basically in a fashion show right now. We're trying these on. I have to draw all the fashion. And I am very much not a fashionista, as it were. Let's see. Pants. Stockings. Getting into later stuff. Let's try something else. Okay. Not quite. Not quite that. Maybe we do actually go with like metallic ones for a little bit more protection, be fitting with the night look. I'm trying not to get too much plate stuff in here, but we'll have a bit. It'll be a defining part of the look. There. If I can't eyeball it, I'll just make it so I don't have to. Got kind of the knee piece. And then we can, this doesn't have to follow the contour of the leg exactly, because it can just actually flare out and be kind of a decorative deal, especially on the A pose where we're not going to see so much. And then we'll kind of have like baggy pants that fit into them. Maybe not quite that baggy, mind. Have like the, let's actually do kind of like put some actual effort into this, won't we? Maybe instead of like a soft baggy, let's go with a slightly stiffer one, so we'd end up with something more like this. Get the wrinkles going in like that. Kind of an interesting look. We'll stick with that for now. See where it gets us. Pointy toe shoes. Kind of the vibe of the day, at least in the art, and that's, you know, to an extent, everything that I have to go off of. We could, let's see. I'd even bring those just to sort of like keeping them kind of flat topped. Just make it look like kind of a two-piece deal. Maybe, yeah, maybe we keep it like this where it's just kind of a hint of that. I worry I flared this out too much and it really ought to be more straight down like that. And again, feel free with suggestions in chat if anyone wants to throw in some ideas. Feel free. Obviously, no pressure. I'm not here to like call on you and lecture and say, hey, give an answer to the class. You're here to relax. I'm here to relax. Just learn some art as we go. Figure that might be fun. Whoops, did we lose connection? I got a message that OBS disconnected. That's not ideal. Anyone in chat still seeing this? I got a message that OBS disconnected for a moment there. That's obviously not ideal. Again, you don't have to say anything, but, you know, hopefully we're still up. Everything looks like we're up. And we'll leave it at that for now. Leave it at that for now. We need to come back to it. Hopefully we don't. Hopefully we're still live. I'm not actually sure how I would know if I wasn't live. If you're not here, tell me. Let's see. I really need that to sort of kind of taper around a little more. Yeah, I'm kind of winging the fabric maybe a little too much on this one. As fun as it is to do. Okay, I got a message that OBS was connected successfully. Can y'all hear me? It looks like you should be able to, but I guess the only way to really test this is, let's see. Can you hear me? Is Siphimir still here? I haven't the faintest idea. Maybe someone does. But until then, you know what? We're just kind of penciling the thin. We'll stick with that, even if it's a slightly better baggy fabric on this side. Because we haven't even figured out arm poses and such yet. Just realized I'm going to have to mirror something, but that is fine. Fine. Okay, so I kind of like this. That would put the shoulder here, which means that the arm is kind of going to be just coming down like that. Cloak is obviously going to drape behind it a little bit. Okay, let's actually think about this, because if the cloak is actually like this, which maybe it shouldn't be, maybe this armor is like a little too wide for what I'm actually trying to do. That might be it. Maybe narrower armor lets us actually have arms. There we go, and we'll just kind of continue the arm out. Man, penciling this in, not worried about too much crazy detail. Oops, don't want to lose all of that, just the part that should be behind it. There we go. A little bit more of an arm. Granted, far too long of an arm, because your wrist ought to be about here, so why the heck is the elbow here? No, right, this isn't actually the waist, this is up. Okay. Still a little low for the elbow. Workable. Arm still looks a tad long. I'm going to scooch that up just a pinch. Let's see. We'll start with that. that's maybe a better way to do it. If anyone has any questions on the tools I'm using, by the way, feel free to give a holler. I'm still learning this, but I'm happy to share everything I've learned so far. Otherwise, I mean, what's the point of me learning live if I'm going to hoard all of the knowledge to myself like an info dragon? That'd be silly and it wouldn't help anyone. Well, it'd help me, I suppose, but like, you know, it's easier to remember stuff when you help teach it anyway. So like, no, it wouldn't even help me. It would be exclusively harmful for everyone involved. Not maybe the best approach, me-think. Do we want to do a Pauldron? I know they're kind of the cliche thing to put on your medieval characters, and it's kind of the era too early for them. But shoulders are also kind of hard to draw. Let's bite the bullet and actually try to draw a proper shoulder. Gonna still have to have sleeves of some sort. You'll note that the obvious armor, for anyone who's like actually paying attention to history, the obvious armor to do here is maybe some scale mail, not like the nice dragon scale looking ones, but like little squares, or even some chain mail. But I'm gonna be drawing this character a lot in the future, hopefully. And I don't think I have enough time in my life to do chainmail unless I figure out how to do custom brushes and stuff on here first. So until we have an answer for the whole custom brush thing, that will not be happening. Once I figure some of that stuff out, I'm sure there's already chainmail brushes around because it's something that everyone hates to draw and it's a repeating pattern. So it's like the perfect candidate. But yeah, once we get something like that, then maybe we'll actually try at that. Until then, the legs are too wide because I've let this fabric sort of define them. Really, if I've got kind of a cartoony character, I ought to keep it like a little narrower, even if it kind of bags out at the end a little bit. And tubes, I'm telling you, I like drawing fabric, but fabric on a tube is complicated. It's like, how stiff is it going to be? Are we going to have sort of like a piece like this, where it like bends out and then kind of warps again at the bottom as it has to reline up with the leg? Where does this connect on the side? How do these fit together, even though this is just a wrinkle and not layers? Like, it's a bit complicated. Maybe like this, but no, then it just looks crazy. Point is, having it bag out like this doesn't really look good per se. It seems too exaggerated. So maybe if we, maybe we're getting somewhere with that. Not if I'm accidentally using the erase tool though. Zoop, zoop. There we go. I said zoop, so you gotta zoop. Can't do this if you ain't zooping. Okay. As all the grandmasters say, the best way to draw lines is not slow and sketchy, it's to zoop. Their words. Professional terms, 100%. Come on, there we go. Okay. I'll kind of have this one lean into it a little bit. Still doesn't look like anything, and these are kind of too low. I need the knee to kind of be here, don't I? Maybe let me take off the pose for a second. Does this proportionally look decent? It does, but only if the knee is... How did the knee get low again? This one's like actually at a... Okay. Let's stop with that nonsense, because they look like they're level. We're gonna just try to keep going up like that. Sure, for now we'll leave it at that. I'll stop trying to tweak it. Much as I want to keep tweaking it, I'll stop. We'll figure out some heraldry or something for here later. Until then, we could kind of just have, I don't know, like any sort of design. I'm a big fan of chevrons. Maybe we go with chevrons. Not the brand. I don't know squat about the brand. But a good chevron's always a nice clean look. Okay, and then we got face, which again, as we've established, but I'm going to try to go for a slightly less cartoony style, so we'll see how that, and in front view, so we'll see how either of those things end up in practice. Kind of prominent nose we've established. Chin really doesn't need to be kind of low down in here, nestled into the top of the fabric-y cloak a little bit. Can add more layers if we need to. I kind of like this topsy-turvy looking one a little bit. You'll see a little bit of neck, not a ton. I guess you'd have like a little bit of ears out to the sides. I'm gonna zoom in on this one just a tad. Oh, actually it is, what are we at, the 45-minute mark? I'm actually gonna go on pause for just a moment. I will be right back in like 3 minutes. Until then, please feel free to enjoy the music. Obviously, no pressure. If you want to wander off, you absolutely can as well. But we're happy to have you stick around if you want to stay. And I will see y'all in just a minute. Yo, we are back. Sorry about that. But I've realized that it's good to actually pay attention to the time a little bit. Make sure I don't just sit here for 2 hours without, you know, drinking water, eating anything, all that. So, had to run out for just a moment there. So again, this is still the same canvas, so I haven't solved the canvas size questions that we'd sort of had. I'm not sure this is quite the ideal size. Because by the time I get to these face details, it's always, like, really small. And while that does make them easier to draw, because I can just sort of give the general feel of it, it's not necessarily good for, you know, actually representing things. For example, it'd be nice if this had like a little more curve to it, but that's going to be actually hard to do. And I guess we could have another go with this tool. Anyone who was here for the earliest stream will remember exactly how well this went. Let's give it one more go. Not redraw, just pinch the vector lines. Zoop. Zoop. Hey, for this it almost worked. Almost. It did work on one side, to be fair, but this side's not looking so hot. So we'll see about that. But let's go ahead and get back to actually drawing these. Drawing these lines a little bit. It's amazing. I can startle myself with a bad line. Like, that's just silly. Okay, so we'll just sort of get the shaping in for that. A little bit of her bangs. Kind of off-centering bit there. Does Olivine always look stressed? Yeah, kinda. Sure, we'll go with that for now. We got kind of this, and it doesn't really come up too high. I don't think it'll look crazy for the front view. I like a little, because it really kind of bags out behind the ear a little bit. We'll just have to make sure it's clear that that's not hair. And with colors, some of these details will be a little clearer. But yeah, so we're sort of getting the vibe. You know, maybe this should tuck in behind here, actually. I think that might be a little... Yeah. It's kind of a funny look. We'll see how it looks at normal scale. Not amazing. I have a bad habit of drawing faces a tiny bit too small, and on print paper, this is a real problem. For this, it's less of a problem. Still a problem, mind. I do need to actually get better about that. Let's just see if we can't, you know, zoop face. Let's just recenter. Oop, not the control point, the actual, you know, face. Zoop, it's a face. Woohoo! We done did it. We actually went and made a face. Front view even. The view that, in my opinion, is the hardest. 3/4 you'd think would be the hardest, but I think it's actually the easiest. There's just so many good outline reference points that you can sort of get the idea of the face really easily. Like, you know, there's a side view. 3/4, like, you don't even need to go crazy with it. You just sort of get like a little more. You get some like cheekbone stuff. Boom. Maybe taper it in a little more. Really emphasize that chin. Ah, no, not the vector erase. Just a little erase. We'll actually get like a line going in there. Boom, boom, boom. See, we got a person here. We'll give him a big old pompadour. Get some texture going on that. Nope, I don't want that. I want that. Really? Oh, I'm still on this one. There we go. Boom. Pompadour. Maybe not quite that far. There we go. I realize this has gotten wildly off track now, but I kind of like this pompadour. Big chin. Big neck. There we go. As it should be. Anyway, that's... Oh, dagnabbit. I hate when that gets swapped. I need to stop pressing R and accidentally resetting it to the wrong tool. Okay. Or I need to learn the hotkey to keep resetting it back to the right tool after I do that. Either way. We've sort of got this. It's a little, like, chunky in the shoulders. We'll have to work on that. But at least it's, you know, a character design. And that is, frankly, more than we kind of had for Olivine at the start of this. So I'm happy with that. If we need to end up doing one really did just straight up turn out better in like 10 seconds than this one did in 5 minutes. Oh well. Let's see. G-pen, because this isn't really in a colorable state yet. Like, the posing and all is a little rough still. I want to try to get it on this 3/4 view one if I can. I'm going to go for a slightly smaller brush, though. Let's maybe go for 6. Maybe even, like, 4. Is that going to be too fine a point? 5 split. Yeah, let's do 5. Let's do 5. Okay. So I think that this sort of pin holding it all together is going to be my reference point starting a lot of things. I like to have a reference point for all the characters I create, something I'm still working on. Because some character designs, it's like, oh yeah, obviously, this is where you start, you know? Like, start here. Commence drawing in this location. But other ones, it's a little less clear. Okay, I really don't need that continuing. We sort of got just like this. These aren't gonna match this time. We're gonna have actually some different curvature because this one's more of a side view. I think it was actually better before. Yeah, okay. We'll start with this. We'll kind of have this land sort of on this corner. It would technically go up there, but that's fine. We'll, let's see, how do we want to do this? Because the leg pose is good. Once again, credit to ABD Illustrates for the awesome character sheet, like posing. I need to work on my A poses. Clearly the arms are like way too nervous and not quite right. Got room to improve there. But for this one, okay, as much as that's like a really cool design, I don't think it's the one that Olivine needs. Oh, it's tempting though. We'll come back to that. Shorter for now. I kind of want like a little more. How do we want this to billow? If Olivine is doing that and moving forward, then really the billow is not going to be here. It's going to be sort of trailing behind. Like, we'll still have some dramatic, you know, okay. I'm better at billows anyway, so let's start with that. And it'll just kind of naturally curve forward. This is a little much, mayhaps. Yeah. My billows also tend to get slightly out of hand, because if it's moving up, then this actually needs to be higher, not lower. There we go. There we go. If this one's further down, then it's going to be closer. If it's further out, it's going to be up, because, you know, the actual length of it's the same wherever it is. I realize that these aren't the same length as it, but the same length as each other. It's basically just a circle curve around this central pivot point. So yeah. Physics. Gotta remember them physics. Even if it's an art thing, it's still physics. I actually quite enjoy physics, even though I was never the best at it. Enjoy me a good, wow, I almost said good logarithm. No, good derivative. Yeah, I mean, yeah, logarithms might be relevant, but that's not what we're doing. Not the point I'm trying to make, anyway. Okay, I kind of actually, yeah. This looks better in 3/4 view, too. It kind of wraps around the knee a little bit. Gives me something to work with there, texture-wise. Maybe it even just comes straight down from that. Like, ekes out a little bit. Tapers in. I think that's the right way we want that line to be going. Again, I really do want this to be kind of just flat at the front edge, and then just kind of, this kind of builds in there. And yeah, I mean, fabric movement there with that, it's almost kind of swashbuckly. Not that Olivine would be thrilled by that, mind. Olivine wants to look proper, but you still need proper mobility, whatever you're doing, so. So for this one, once again, the actual like central line of this kind of bends inwards a little bit, and the bottom is going to end further back than the start. Although with the leg out like this, they might end evenly, but not more than that. Just gonna kind of pop in. We've got kind of that going. could illustrate this on this one too. I'm not sure it would add as much. Yeah, kind of a little bit. Helps it look more rigid. But I don't know that it is. I don't think it adds as much there. What do y'all think? If anyone wants to say, feel free to chime in. The moment I'm leaning towards no, but I am open to being convinced otherwise. I think we're actually gonna want, while y'all deliberate, to the extent that anyone is, I'm just gonna go ahead and keep getting started on these. We will. This needs to be a little wider. It's not like a pencil toe. I don't know if that's an actual saying. Is that a saying? Is it offensive? I hope not. That would be unfortunate. Right, this is just kind of an exaggerated angle, really, so the actual levels need to be the same. It's just that stuff is sort of spread out. And I really do want this to be slightly less pointy and slightly more flat front. Rounded edge, not quite flat. We kind of had it there, and then I lost it. Boop-a-doop-a-doo. Doop-a-doop. Aye. There we go. Oh, and if chat's not working, let me know, but also, I'm not entirely sure how one would do that. If anyone figures out a way to tell me when chat isn't working, let me know. But I think it is. Everything I see points to it working currently. Light curve, please. Less than that. Good enough. Okay, we'll leave it at that. No, not the curse of the erase tool hotkey. I need to adjust my bindings a little bit to fit my workflow, or I need to adjust my workflow and my habits to fit my bindings. Joy about digital programs is you can kind of do either. Okay. Yeah, okay, so this isn't just gonna, I know that's the center, but really it needs to sort of be more like there we go, there we go. See, this is already coming together better than that A-pose one. I find front views so hard. I really ought to start with the 3/4 ones. But in terms of character design, I do need to know the design a little more strictly for 3/4 than I do for the A-pose, this front view. So I think it's good to do the character design in the A-pose, and then put it in here and really flesh it out, bring it to life. For example, this little rim still isn't working at all the way I want it to. It doesn't like really show perspective. It doesn't look like it's wrapping around, which I believe it ought to look that way if this is gonna look good. I mean, with this one you'd have a little silhouette, methinks. Not a ton. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe like the edge of it really is a hard edge. Need to actually look at some reference pictures to figure that out for sure. Ooh. Maybe the problem is in trying to add perspective, I'm bringing it too high up so it looks kind of comical and conical, when really it needs to be a little flatter. And the perspective comes in the varied width of the, well. Okay, it's not really got perspective on it well, though. Oh, I'll have to figure that out, because it looks a little silly right now. But if there's a better way to do it, I will be trying, you know. Let me know if you know a better way, and if you don't, we will just figure it out. We'll live and learn. Okay. Let's try to actually figure out what's underlying before we just jump straight into a cloak this time, because that's kind of an important step. For starters, shoulder's actually going to be like, okay, if we're doing it like this, the shoulder really is going to be more like here, so it's going to be kind of behind it. That's fine. I mean, that's easier, that's preferable. It's just that it isn't how I originally imagined it, so I need to make sure I've got my thoughts sorted out. Okay, deltoid. This one, that one. The other ones. Just kind of, the average width continues to narrow throughout the arm, but like it's got lumpy bits. People talk about like the 3D like chains almost. Like, it's got kind of like sections. Obviously it's not quite as strict as that, but that is sort of how it ends up looking. So you end up with stuff that's sort of like, well, if you've got it at a bend, it ends up looking kind of funky. obviously this is a rough approximation. I don't think anyone's arm looks exactly like this. Because, well, you know, this is designed to be representative of the general structure shape, and then, I don't know, a hand here, a shoulder here. That's from, what was it, from Bridgman, I believe? I need to read, it's been too long since I refreshed on that book. Like I said, I need to do an arm stream. One of these days, I'm gonna do an arm stream. I'm gonna actually figure out how to do that. Maybe even do an arm reveal. That'd be exciting, wouldn't it? That's good. That, you know, the day I do an arm stream is gonna have to be a big day at this point, because I've talked about it forever. And I'm not sure. I'm still not sure I'll ever actually end up doing it, but I should. I need the practice. I need the actual like practice drawing those. Okay, so top of the arm is going to be like that. Thumb is going to be more like that, but we're not going to see most of it because longsword. Or technically, like that wasn't a medieval classification. They didn't have all these longsword, short sword, etc. Like, you know, they had their own systems that weren't all that precise. And trying to categorize things has become quite complex as a result, and by and large arbitrary. So, rather than that, I'm just going to say it's a fun, kind of average-looking sword, nothing super snazzy. I think we're going to have... What's a good angle? If you're doing this, and you want the sword to be sort of... Really would be sort of seeing the sharp edge of it, unless you're trying to show it. That would be a weird angle. Yeah. Okay, so sharp edge. That means the edge of the hilt is actually going to be facing towards us, and not nearly that big, mind. This isn't the hilt, this is the, I don't know, child safety bar. Not just for children, for anyone with the sword. Well, in this case, I guess Olivine is like 13, so technically yes? Don't give 13-year-olds swords, please. At least not real ones. Real 13-year-olds or real swords, for the record. In case anyone was wondering which I meant. Okay, but then that sort of puts that really... Okay, I've gone and put that in wholly the wrong place. Because you'd have sort of the handle piece. The actual hilt. Pommel, notwithstanding, angle is going to be slightly different as well. Let's just scratch... We've gotten some angles off to a bad start there. Okay, assuming that you're gripping it like that, and assuming that you're not trying to, like, bring it upwards, because that would be bad form and strain your wrist, it's actually going to tilt inward a little bit. Because your hand has to sort of grip over this. We'll demonstrate this with Lego hands, the best hands of all. So you can sort of see the hand has to, like, wrap around the hilt, so it's not going to be, like, parallel with the body unless you've got your wrist at, like, a really awful angle. Which I don't recommend when holding a sword. They're, you know, at least a little bit heavy. Not crazy heavy. They're very much holdable, but they're heavy enough that you shouldn't, you know, just fling them around out of wrist notice. It'll. They say that art's bad for giving you carpal tunnel. That'll be way worse. Okay, I do think this is going to be parallel with the hand, though. Sort of cross guard. There will be a pommel back there. I don't know if that's actually going to be visible in the final pose. The actual sword's going to sort of... The footprint of the sword, which is what I'm trying to figure out, is not quite linear. It's going to be a little bit of a diamond shape. I'm thinking like... The central line's going to be here. Got this one. Could do a dramatic, like, flare it out thing. Get a little bit of perspective going on it, make it look kind of cool. Kind of liking that. So then we'll just hide. Ah, no. Just while I hold down E. I have to hold it down. If I just click it, then I activate the wrong tool. Dagnabbit, I really thought I did that one right. Okay, but there we go. So we've got sort of something like that. Cross guard's obviously going to have a little depth to it. Not necessarily all visible, mind. And yeah, I think that's a good sort of start for that. We never really did figure out. I guess we got the cloak on this arm. It's going to be sort of like this at this point. Again, point of tension for it is this piece here. So that's going to be determining the front. And then we could have, like, because it wraps over the arm. So it's going to sort of... Ah, no! Okay, Eraser's been real sensitive today, or I'm a tad tired and it's showing. Could easily be both. I don't think I want to do that. I think what we want is we want the cloak to sort of be wrapped over. The tension point actually becomes the back of the arm here. Like, so right here. So yeah, any arm that's inside the cloak at this point won't be visible, and then anything here, however, that's not going to go directly to it. That's sort of going to... No. Going to flare over, and we might even have it like where it flares in front a little bit. I kind of like that. It does make it look like it's not quite settled. And we can show with colors that this side and like this side are the same. And of course with wrinkles a little bit too. There'll be lots of wrinkles in it doing that, mainly from right here. Actually, there'd probably be bulges in the fabric a little bit too. No. No! Okay, I need to figure out what I've done to the eraser command. Either I've just gotten worse at it, which is possible, or I've accidentally adjusted one of the settings without realizing, which is also possible. Again, we're all here to learn. If I knew what I was doing, this wouldn't be a helpful video series. Well, it would, but it'd be helpful in a different way. And there's a lot of excellent folks who are already doing good work like that. Big fan of Honey Goblin's work. For anyone who's like on board with VTubers, she does great like actual guidelines on how she draws, and watching them, very fun. Let's see, I do think that Olivine would have at least some sort of like padded fabric protection over her arms too, though. Like, I don't think she's just the freewheeling type necessarily. I could go like a little dramatic on the sleeves, add some flair, but nothing crazy. Not quite as big as salts are gonna be. There we go. We'll chill out on some of these other details. Okay, not that one. That's not a detail. That's a key line. Very, very essential line. Like it if it stayed that way. No. Ay. Okay, so we'll have this, and I don't want this to overlap there, so it'll sort of like... yeah. Like, warp in there. Oh my word. Wasn't doing this earlier. I think maybe I'm moving too fast now. I've gotten in the zone a little bit, and by doing so I've kicked myself out of the zone. Such is the way at times. I guess this really does need to be more of like a side connection rather than this wrapping under. Much as I enjoy the dynamic of the wrapping under, it's not really what we need. Okay, and this is still going to, you know, cut off there. This is fabric arms. Don't need full plate on the arms. I'm not sure that Olivine can afford full plate on the arms, frankly. Okay, I'm gonna sort of... I kind of like what it sort of is doing there. Let's see. There we go. We're getting back into it. Not that this will wrinkle and fold the same way every time, but I'm trying to get some slight consistencies here right now. And I do think that this is actually going to end up wrapping all the way over. Kind of like that, like how that's going. You know, maybe this is more of an Olivine pose than I originally thought. I'm kind of enjoying the sort of haughty confidence that's coming with it. Olivine as a character is still missing some character flaws, and when you're trying to flesh out a character, you need characters that have flaws. I think maybe a competing overconfidence to what Salt has, because Salt is an overconfident in a I didn't even consider the consequences sort of way, whereas Olivine is maybe going to be more overconfident in a I'm mature and can handle the situation kind of way, which sometimes will be true, and sometimes won't be, which is, to be fair, true for most all of us in life. No, come on. Eraser. Please leave me alone for just a moment. Okay, when I said leave me alone, I did still mean please return to the eraser when I click you. I should have clarified, that's on me. There we go. Nope, I kind of want this line. I just want to need to cut it off a little bit first. There we go. I want to delt it up, but that's not exactly delting it up. That's more delting it up. A little higher. Yeah, it's kind of loose fabric, so it doesn't need to be super defined. There we go. Okay, and we've sort of defined the center point already, so I'm going to go ahead and re-add the chevron, which should have a slight curvature, especially around the edge. Because we've got this 3/4 view now. Let's see, we've sort of got... There we go, confident lines. Chevron I know how to draw, I know roughly where the lines need to go now. Let's just throw those in there. Not a genius chevron, and we'll see where it starts to repeat back on the other side, just a hair. No, I want that silhouette line to be the strong one, I don't want to actually erase it. And like that, and so that's just this one. There we go, there we go, there we go. See if I can't get just that one little stray hair. There we go. Nope. Zoop. Zoop-a-doop-a-doop. Okay. So we're starting to get something that's looking a little more like what we want. Okay, so hand's gonna be on the far side. I just kind of need the curve of the wrist. Not going for crazy hand details. It's not the best use of our time at this point. Starting to feel the time crunch a little bit. Wishing I didn't. I wish I could have just done this for 8 hours today. I really this has been such a long day, and I've had no energy for anything else. Like this would totally have been like a fun way to spend it. But you know, life's got things you have to actually do in it sometimes. And that's a good thing, you know. Pain in the rear sometimes, but it's a good thing. It's good to have things to do. I think we've all learned from the last few years for anyone who locked down versus didn't. But like everything's slowed down an awful lot, and you feel it. You definitely do. As much as I enjoyed downtime, because I'm really bad about actually taking downtime, like truly dreadful at it. Appallingly bad. I mean, I'm Twitch streaming right now, and I have a full-time job. That's already a bad start. Okay, the nose even kind of works for this hottie. Yeah, I'm liking this hottie. H-A-U-T-Y. Nope. There we go. G-H-T-Y. H. There we go. Kind of a hottie style. Oh, look, it's a mouth. Ah, the teeth are terrifying. Okay. Enough of that. And again, I'm just trying to get some loose bits in here. Okay, so that one, the bridge of the nose is going to cover up some, so we're just going to see the point where it starts to come up again. Kind of the face outline just right around the edge of that nose. Maybe if yeah, okay, let's define the bangs a little first, and then it's, yeah, now that's clearer. Get some confidence going in here. Kind of like this slightly pointy ear. It's not elven, but it kind of fits into fantasy settings well. Might make you question, like, if this ends up being from a fantasy world that's got elves and such, which, knowing me, it probably will be. I've been a DM for too many years, it's in my blood now. You know, it might make you think, like, oh, maybe there's some, like, elven, like, 16th elf ancestry or something. Give some interesting backstory opportunities. Okay, so we've still got the sort of center line of the face that I'm following. The nose links up to it, the chin is going to link up to it, and I want to make sure that this helmet mask piece also links up to it. There we go. I say as I undo it again. Nope, slightly too fine a point. It'll do. Maybe I do need to make this like really long. Clearly defined. And that one's gonna just kind of vanish over the edge a little bit. Let's see. Happy, yes. Fitting for the scene, not remotely. Oh, oops, that's the auto select syncing everything. A fun tool, to be sure. Not the one I need. It's not actually select everything. I think it's just outline an area, and I think I clicked the white background because I haven't closed the face in yet. And so it just outlined everything. Not helpful. Yep, that's right. I'm actually clicking on the eraser tool and not using the hotkey. For the record, I have rebound some of my hotkeys. Everyone's going to have their own preferences for hotkeys, and mine did not work super. I started on Krita, and so I've got some things that I'm just more accustomed to with the way it handles things, and I don't really love the CSP. Some of the shortcuts, and really everyone ought to do this. You test out the shortcuts, learn. Yeah, if you're just learning, like, keep them as is. But once you sort of figure out the things that you actually use a lot, make sure that you've got those on accessible shortcuts. Because some of the accessible shortcuts are taken up by junk that I'd never use, and some of the stuff that I actually want is on really obscure garbage shortcuts. And that's just going to be true for everyone, because everyone's workflow is different. Everyone's like style, what they're attempting to achieve is different. Once again, I'm suffering from tiny face syndrome. Oh no. Well, we'll get the design in, and then we'll zoom it up a little bit. That doesn't look right. It's gonna be more like this. This really needs sort of. Think about this as a bag of hair. It really needs to sort of like pull back a little bit, pull back a little bit. Oh, and anyone has chatted in chat, by the way. And I haven't seen it because right now my queue sure looks like no one's chatted, which again, that's also totally fine. I'm not a frequent chatter in other chats, at least I wasn't for a very long time. But you know, if you're chatting and I'm not seeing it, then that means something's broken on my end, and I do apologize. I'm still trying to figure some of this stuff out. Well, now she's just looking starstruck. That's not really what I'm looking for. Ah, no. Keep the ribbons, get rid of the pupils. There we go, I'm kind of liking that. Maybe keep the pupils still vertical. Yeah, okay. I like the squared off front a little bit, but it's just, it doesn't work for this pose. It doesn't quite make sense. Maybe squaring off the back still, but having it be like down there. Yeah, because the weight of it's going to be sort of landing towards the back now. Okay. And with color, some of these details will be clearer. And also when I zoom the face in, because I made it too tiny again, it will be clearer. Look at this tiny head just sort of planted on that giant collar. That makes no sense. Not a lick of sense. There we go. Like, I'm like, that was at like half size. Maybe 2/3. Like, it's just ridiculous. Oops, nope, don't need that. Thank you, though. So yeah, we're starting to get some stuff that's actually more recognizable. Like, you can tell sort of what's happening in this one. The cloak, the physics of the cloak here aren't quite right. I can sort of tell. The sword is looking okay, though. I'm actually pretty happy with that one right now. No, the cloak's looking too rectangular, I think. So if this is coming from here, then really this needs to be sort of connecting. Yeah, okay, so I think it is this twist that's sort of causing the problems. This piece is going to be. Let me go ahead and toss it, but temporarily while I figure this out. But if it's connecting back even, oh wow, yeah, it's even over here. This needs to be more of a like coming down like that. And then if there's like a twist to it, that can totally happen still. In fact, it wouldn't even shock me if there was. But it's going to lead back up to this same point here, this level. Okay, so yeah, so we've sort of got the edge, breaks out in the twist. That's looking a little better. I think I need to start curving it up a tad. Just a hair, because it really needs to look like it's sagging down a little more if it's like kind of a stretchy fabric. It's better. So now let's think, just reviewing this design we've come up with, we want Olivine to look like a very confident, consistent character, and I know we've talked a little bit on past streams about shape language, which is trying to at least get some overall shapes, like squares and rectangles tend to be more confident, triangles tend to show danger, circles, in addition to being cozy, comfy, also tend to be a little more mobile. Triangles are like action motion. Like that's why you see like in an action scene, there's like the moment there, and then everything is zooming around it. This ends up looking more James Bondy than I was aiming. But like everything focuses on, it's not just to draw your eye, it's these sharp points really like, they emphasize the action and the pace of it and the danger a lot of the time. Okay. So what we want Olivine to be, if still childlike, so we still want roundedness, basically, the softness, not the full danger, but where Salt has the triangle of sort of her just going off on wild tangents and getting into trouble, Olivine is definitely more of the confident, more of a paladin than anything. And so I want to make sure this design is showing that. We'll want to think about that in poses, of course. I like the rounded headgear is good. The fact that there's points on these, but there's like fairly soft points, also good. The cloak is a little triangular. I'm gonna have to think about how I want to do that. May have to finagle some stuff around because Salt's is actually very square, but also really small and emphasizes the kitty look there. Maybe we do need like a little more. Like maybe if I make this like less of a triangular like edge, it'll look a little more professional and dignified. Sword, obviously, arm. The stance could be a little less, like if this was more of a confident, like really just an arm down by the side, or like an arm curled in, but the fact that it's sort of adding this angle, this contrasting angle to the character, adds the sharpness, which again, this is kind of an action-y pose, so you want that more dynamic thing, but in a typical standing pose for her, we would want a little less, dynamic going on. Even the stance here, you've got like the contrasting action going, as opposed to this side, which is fairly stable. So I think we're in an okay spot. Even the chevron design I could like curve out or tweak a little bit. It's not like a hard and fast rule, just sort of some guidelines that can be helpful. Oh yeah, the ribbons. Okay, because she is still like a knight, or at least a knight in training. So she is still dangerous. We don't want to just round off all the edges and make her stagnant. She's not like a full-on paladin stoic, like anything like that. But, and the legs I've really got a little long for her design. I had to scoot those up a little bit. In fact, maybe let me do that, see if that changes any of the dynamics. Legs. Because they're the right proportions for an adult, but not necessarily for like a kid. And since, you know, this is about like basically a school, or at least the story that I've sort of been writing for these characters is more about like a school coven sort of learning thing. The armor ought to look like a little looser fit, like a little too big. I'll have to tweak some of that a little, proportions and such. Maybe this arm shouldn't come down quite as far. Oops, that's that's not the right tool at all. If I like grab this, sort of trim it out loosely. I can clean up loose lines with the vector tool, another reason that it's nice. Oop, I don't want to expand it like that. I want to grab this one and just do like a very slight shrink. Maybe pull it in a little. And that's going to leave some awkward stray lines. That's okay right now. But yeah, we don't want to look too strong, too confident. The armor should look a little big. This arm might be a little long too, but I think that's okay for now. You know, if I really want this to look like an action pose, like she's just pulled the sword out, this cloak really ought to like be more like dynamic this way. Not as fun, in my opinion, of a pose over there. It is still good. It's still good, but it's a different kind of dramatic. Let's toy with it, you know. Nothing wrong with tweaking some stuff. Rebuild the cloak from the other way if need be. That's no issue at all. So it's sort of like getting caught there. You're gonna see it bunching a little bit, but really this is gonna start getting pulled more this way, to the point where I think it's not even. It's gonna be more like even like this. Let's see, kind of this. We really want to add like a little bit of a dynamic here. We can have it do the fold over thing too, like we looked at from the ribbons. Let's see if we can't get the angle of that right. Not quite nailing it. There we go. Yeah. Now we're getting it. Sometimes you just gotta tweak it to get the eyes to perceive the perspective right. Yeah, a lot of people have said that art's basically just about tricking the eyes into seeing what you want it to see, which to an extent is true, and to an extent there's more to it. But in this case, like, eyeballing it is good because you know, when you eyeball it, then you the other people watching can too. Like if it looks right just innately, then it's possible you've just been staring at it too long, and that's why they recommend flipping the canvas and stuff like that, which I'm sure there's a button for on this somewhere. That's just a scroll though. Oh yep, these still look decent. This one looks a tad ditzier, which is kind of funny. This one I think actually looks better. But yeah, this is discernible. The pose is still confident. I can still read what's happening with it. It's not genius. The hand here is a mess. The legs are lined up well. I'm happy with how they've turned out. This arm is a little stiff even for what it is. But you know, as a general overview, it's fine. This one obviously still has its problems. Wonder if a vertical flip really just changed the eyes. Her legs look a little wide, which does make sense with how we designed them. I might be able to tweak that just a tad. Risky mind. Let's just tweak that a little bit, see what people's thoughts are. Just the tiniest bit of... Oh, nope, I shouldn't. Oh, I guess that's always proportional. That's interesting. Sort of pop it back in there. We'll do the same here. We're making them just this tiniest bit smaller. Nope, see, I made that one too much smaller. See if that's looking a little better. Obviously, being baggy like adds to that a bit. It makes them look wider. That is fine. I think for now this is a good like sort of starting place for Olivine. Oops, no, I ought to get back in the pen tool, shouldn't I? Huh. That one I'll concede 100% on me. There we go. My hand's looking a little scoopier now, as it should from this angle. Not sure that'd be the place to rest a hand. I'm knowing just my quirks and ticks and movements. Everyone's got their own. I'd probably like have a hand like clutching onto this, but that's not really a confident pose. So maybe that's something that we could try that a little bit. No shame in trying it. Yeah, at this point, so I didn't end up getting into any of the shading or color filling stuff that I really wanted to get into today, but that's okay. We're doing some character design that frankly should have happened a while ago anyway. A wee bit behind on some of this. So this will emphasize some of the folds. Sure, that's fine. I'll have to do a little tweaking up there. Mainly, I think I tossed this line. We'll need a thin weight line. I think we were on 5 when we were doing this, right? Have that be kind of baggy still. And then instead of the hand being like this, and we can clean up some of these little odds and ends while we're at it. It'd be sort of like resting palm first, and then the fingers are sort of going up under there. They wouldn't be completely visible. But I guess you'd still be able to see more of them than that, though, because there's a certain bend limit to what you can actually do with it. It'd also help if that looked like a thumb and not a Lego hand. There we go. Fingers ought to at least extend roughly the same as the thumb. Yeah, I'm not sure that's a better pose. It looked like, don't get me wrong, it's kind of confident in its own right, but it looks separate from the other one. It doesn't look like they're actually like, it's not really counterbalancing. It's not really matching in form. Just gonna go crazy on the undos. Yeah, there we go. Cool. So I'll leave it at this for now. And I may just add like a little bit of like cloak warping, because that is what would be happening here. You know, it'd be pinched down a little bit. Wouldn't look like that, mind. But you'd have like some pinch marks around it and stuff, and then to affect the billow. So I'll have to think about that a little bit. Whoops, sorry if there was a sound noise there. Okay. So as it goes, I think this is the best Olivine design I've gotten on record so far. Might add, I'd like to add a little detail. These are really sharp. They're probably not quite the right shape for Olivine. Which gives me two options. Either I sort of keep them in the character design and I try to come up with some backstory to justify them, that they're really another characters and they're supposed to be visually different. Or, like maybe a hand-me-down from a grandparent or something. Or, as an alternative, we make it a different shape. Sorry about my yawns, I can tell I'm sort of fading quickly today. So I may hold off on making that decision right now. I am going to hide the sketch layer so we can actually see if this is all showing right. Like getting a little bit of glow line stuff in there. Just make it look a little reflective. Especially for stuff like this where it's armor and it ought to look a little reflective anyway. Add some detail. Not gonna mess with it too much though. That's why this looks weird. You can still see the hilt of the sword through it. There we go. You know, that's looking a tad better. I'll leave a note for myself. We'll see if that makes sense tomorrow. Because I will be live again tomorrow, the same time, 8 to 10. Okay, so now that we've sort of got that figured out, I'm going to call these the Ollie Ruffs. Oli Ruffs, maybe. Oop, nope. And then let's throw on another layer. Because I want to take these last few minutes to test around a little bit with that tool that I've been talking about. So first off, Oli Ruffs I'm going to set as the reference layer, which is going to do it for everything. So it's, you know, hopefully it didn't break anything else when I did that. And then I'm just going to actually add a new raster layer here. And we're going to see what the fill tool can do. Olivine, let's see. Olivine's super pale, I think. Like almost awkwardly so. I almost want it to be kind of like a cold. Well, I don't want. It's still got to be skin tones. We'll start with that. Nope. Okay, so now that's one thing I was reading is I need to figure out how to make sure that this tool refer to other layers. There we go. Okay. Okay, so let's see if this has some more options for... Maybe enclose and fill? Oh, okay, that just lets me loop a thing and then fill it. That's not helpful. That's neat. Nope, okay. Oh, tool properties. There we go, there we go. Let's do a little more closed gap. See if we can't... Nope. I think that was the opposite of what I need to do. Also, I left it on the wrong setting. A little more closed gap, forgiveness. Okay. So now, as long as I put this below the roughs, then it should just be hiding in there. in which case this might be a heck of a lot easier just to get some rough colors in than we did yesterday. Let's see. Olivine, hair color. We thinking brown? We thinking... I don't think red hair. I think that can be too... If Olivine and Salt hang out, then the color contrast is gonna be kind of weird. Maybe kind of like a dirty blondish looking, like kind of an ashen blonde maybe, almost brown. Oop, that's not hair. Because there's not a lot of the hair that's visible, really and truly. Most of it's going to be in this like really soft, like kind of burlappy sack looking thing. And I need kind of some silver grays, which are really more notable once you can add some like shading and colors to it. Okay, so the fill tolerance still isn't perfect. I'll decide if I want to make that gold, and if I want, you know, I think this really ought to be more of like an almost white color. Not skin tone white. Kind of weird when it's like that. We'll make it like that. We'll start with that. We have Olivine, kind of the actual like green for the ribbons. And I think for the eyes. Not that it's going to be super visible because we got this line work sort of going on here. And this gap tolerance isn't perfect. Oh, fill up to vector path. That's the thing I need to be doing. Because we did use vector layers for this, and so one of the reasons to do that is so that you can actually fill up to those vector paths. So let's go back, let's, I've got the eyedrop tool still, so let's grab this, and let's then go back and proper fill it. Where the heck did I put the fill? There it is. Okay, and then I don't think that's actually doing anything when I do it like that, but this is one where I need to do some cleanup. So if I go to the fill now, okay, yeah, that's a lot cleaner. Dang, this is a fast workflow. And then with shading and stuff, I can still do my multi-select and all that we were sort of experimenting with yesterday, which is really fun to do. But in terms of getting flat colors in, like even just roughly, this is phenomenal. Ah, no. Once again, I'm not actually working on a solid white canvas, so having white colors in here is, like, distinct, for better or for worse. Mouth. Mouth. Sure. Should bind this to a new hotkey. I had to take it off the old one because I kept triggering it by accident. But, yeah. And if I do that, yeah, that does that. Okay. In terms of fill, that's almost all of it. Eyedropper, I'm going to grab this a little bit and do some cleanup on this layer. But, like, that is a quick workflow. If that's really all it takes to get some of this in, it's also telling me that I need to think about colors a little bit because these aren't meshing well at all. Maybe, you know, if Olivine's whole color thing is going to be the green, let's make it the green. Let's make the distinct piece up here actually that. Let's make that. Gives us a little more interesting colors to work with. And maybe this visor even, I'm kind of getting kind of a more goldy vibe from it, really and truly. Not that gold looks good in flat colors. You need the textures before gold looks like anything other than brown, because it is just brown. Somewhere between brown and orange. But it's a start. Also, because the line work is green, that's probably not helping. I wonder if I can change that on this reference layer itself. Can I change the line? No, I can't even fill vector layers. That's right. Okay. I just have to think about some other stuff. Maybe a gradient map or something to fix that. Or I can just, you know, zoop. Not perfect. Far from perfect. But it's a pretty quick start. And that took like, what, 2 minutes? 3 minutes? Crazy easy. Ollie Doodle flats. And we can even, you know, let me just throw on a molt layer while we're at it. We can get some shading going in here. We'll do this. Maybe the pale skin's not quite right for Olivine either. Hair color ought to be... Hair color's not super important. I don't want it to detract, but I do want it to contrast. So maybe, yeah, back on the flats for a second. Sorry. I'm on the flats layer, right? That's... Why can I not? Is it because of the molt layer? Do I need to get rid of this first? Yeah, that's fine. Bill? What's going on? Oh, it's because what the heck is this layer? This is a vector layer. And it doesn't have anything on it. I don't know what that is. I'm going to toss it. Hopefully we won't regret that later. I probably will. That's fine though. Everything on here we've made once, so we can make it again if we need to. Ah, no, not that piece. This piece. I'm thinking kind of the black hair again. Sort of. I know that matches salts. No, we'll give kind of like a warmer skin tone. Maybe not that. That's not quite. Ah, these green lines. Okay. This is what I get for doing the line work in colors. It makes it fun when you're just doing normal sketches, but then when you actually get to something like this, you're like, oh, oops. How do these colors look without the lines? Not terrible. The mask could use a little more contrast, but really, other than that, this is actually kind of a good combo. So yeah, maybe let's grab the mask here. It's, you know, once we add shading and all, it's going to be super different anyway, but we can go ahead and add just like a little more dark. Fill that in. And that'll be good. That'll be good. Okay, so then just to go, now that we've got that sorted, got the ollie flats, got the ollie roughs, let's get an ollie molt in here. That's going to refer to the flats layer specifically. Ollie shadow. So for those who missed the other stream, multiply basically, instead of just, when you draw with a color on it, instead of just drawing with flat with that color, it sort of applies it as a filter to whatever layer it's referencing, typically, you know, the layer right below it. So it's really great for shadows, because you can do black and grayscale shadows, and they're good. But if you can add a little bit of color character, so like if you, so the shadows are actually the same color, it looks a lot better, a little more realistic, because that's how shadows actually work. Like, you know, if you've got a slight shadow on a blue cup, the shadow isn't just immediately black unless there's no light. It's just a darker hue of blue. Hue is probably the wrong word. Color theorists out there, please don't get mad. I'm obviously not an expert on that, but I think it's a handy little deal. So let's do just handy to have like kind of a quick overview, and this molt is good for this. Actually, sweep that line a little more, smooth that edge, and I'm just going to fill in everything here. This last time what we did was we had a bunch of different molt layers. I think we want more like this. Maybe smooth that even. I have a lot of shadow there, that's fine. I kind of want like a little shadow under the hair. And a little shadow in the ear. We're just gonna rough that in right now. Again, like this is super rough that I'm doing right now. You know, she probably should look tired. So we'll try a little shadow there, and if it looks bad, we'll undo it. And then I'm basically just going to fill this area with a giant pen. I believe that's what we were doing last time. Was we just ended up getting like a big old G pen. We could try it with some texture pens, but I recall they weren't really sticking into it too well. Although that was actually before we saw... Okay. You know what? One more test. One more test. Let's actually do a brush. Let's do this watercolor brush. And we're just going to see how that ends up looking. I'm going to go back. It's not looking great. This may not have been the right use for that particular one. Maybe a soft... I also don't necessarily have the best experience using these brushes yet, so that's probably part of the issue. Is maybe we don't need texture on these otherwise flat designs. The rough wash is a fun one, but probably not for this either. Not unless all of it was looking like that. Otherwise it just kind of looks like a skin issue. Okay, yeah, let's not do that. Oh, right, what we were doing last time was just the fill anyway. Let me remove these and then just Okay. So that's right. Last time what we did was we did each flat on a different layer, and then we applied these molts to each layer. So every layer of the flat had different. Yeah, I can actually just pull that one open. It's literally in this file. Let's just make this stuff visible again. So yeah, you can sort of see with salt here. What we did was we've got the flats here, and then each one has a multiply attached to it. And maybe that's the better way to go. Maybe that's what we do with this one next time. Also, wow, I really was using a finer line weight on that one. No, I really wasn't. I was just using the sketch pen instead of the G pen. Or the sketch pencil, mechanical pencil to be precise. Okay, well that's useful. We'll continue doing this, we'll continue learning. But it does mean that maybe if I'm going to actually do like a little test icon with this one, I ought to do it, not on this particular one, but I actually go draw that in a dedicated file, and do it there. Might be the way to go. That is fine by me, though. I don't think we'll be doing that tonight on stream. We've only got about 8 minutes left. So I'm open to suggestions or anything else like that, or I can just keep on sort of going, talking to myself here. That's A-okay with me. Okay. Tempting thought. Really dumb thought, mind you. Really dumb thought. Super dumb. Shading this dude. There's no reason to. And I think it's going to end up having to be like a super dramatic type of deal. But, I really want to do it. Let's see. Pump flat. This needs to be a folder. Pump flats needs to be a folder. Poly pump flats. And then we're just going to throw... Okay. Well, first off, I'm going to make sure this is referencing the reference layer. But, yeah, it's going to. Actually, doesn't need to with this layer. We're just doing the flats right now. Right, it does, because we're actually using that fill. Okay, step one, roughs. I'm going to scooch this other face, whispering to them. Maybe I don't scooch that out of the way. Maybe they're blending into the shadows. I'm going to try not to go crazy on the ideas, because I think it'll be more fun if we actually just try to do this right. Step one, though, fill, refer to other layers. We've got this one. Pump. Skin. We're going to see how far we can get with this, because I suspect, yeah, that's what I thought would happen. So what I'm going to do is, I'm actually going to call this pump shade. I'm going to enclose them in a little box on the rough layer. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. I'm going to get a darkish black. I'm going to make it in the green zone a little bit. We'll kind of get this going. And then we're going to go into pump shade and we're going to fill the heck out of that thing. We're going to go crazy with it. Ominous shadows. Now, obviously, because the goal of this is to have kind of a lineless style, eventually we're going to have to get rid of those lines, and that's not, you know, ideal. Because, you know, we get rid of the lines right now, and there's just, actually, it's kind of getting there already. Okay. Then the next thing we need to do is, I'm actually going to lean into the green a little bit, but I'm going to go for like a little more, like a suspicious green, like something ominous, kind of almost sickly. We'll see if that ends up working. We may need to try something a little different. Still want it to be fairly dark. But I do want this on its new layer. Pump green. Fill in some of these areas. Get something a little more ominous. Kind of want this face to have a little hint of it. But I'm not thinking... I'm definitely not thinking... with most of this design, to be fair. Because that's not really fading into shadows. That's not looking terribly ominous at all. What we need is like a little bit of selecty tool. So that I can manually select, because this isn't exactly closed line art, so the fill is only going to get us so far. So let's go for a little more selecty. And we're just experimenting with this. I don't know if this is going to turn out good at all. I think that's already like a little too big of a fill. I really need to... Why am I... We can remove these. Let's get a little smaller of a selection. We're just going to try to get like the ear tip. We're going to fill that. And try to get like a little bit of an edge on the chin. Get a little glow there. Fill that. Like a little bit on the neckline. This still isn't really, I'm just sort of following the lines right now. This is just, I'm sure it's vaguely hinting at a silhouette, but it's not really doing what we need it to do. I think maybe like a little bit under there though. We'll see how this ends up looking here in a second. Because unfortunately, whoops, like we've got the white lines still, and really what I'd like to be able to do is just have the sort of, the shadow, like just the shadow and the green be all that defines this entire sort of face. Which would mean the black. I don't think we're quite at a point where that would look good. You know, we may have to, this experiment's probably something that should be in its own file, something we should mess with some other time. I may hold off on dealing too much with them for now. I do like the pose, I do like the face. But I don't think there's enough time tonight to really do anything of interest with them. I do like this pose for Olivine, Ollie. I'll want to tweak the A pose a little bit, much like with Salt. I think this one's got a stronger pose going on, and there's sort of more of a pose. I need to tweak the secondary one for Salt too. But this is something that we could work with. It's something that I could actually use as sort of a character ref of sorts. Obviously, still got its issues, but it is an improvement on the last ones, as we can see. Not that one. Salt. Okay, that one actually looks really adorable. But it is still like proportions make no sense. And if we get not that one, where are the line work? Where is the line work? Where did I go and hide that? Nope, that's the other Olivine sketch. Nope, that's just filling in. Oh, I guess it's here. It's just really faint. But yeah, so like that one's not bad. But the A pose Salt, like the legs still have all sort of issues. The arm, obviously, I didn't get that far. And then the A poses again. I need to figure out how to show good detail on the A poses. But I do like how these have come out. I may have to do like a little simplification to Olivine's design, just to get her a little more recreatable, a little repeatable. But it's a good start. I think that we've got some fun stuff going on here. I'm liking how it's going. So let's see, we're at 9:59. I am probably going to have to wrap up here in just a second. So I'm going to go ahead and hide the whole Salt folder. I'm going to go ahead and folder up everything we've gotten here for Olivine too. And we'll figure out where we want to pick up next time for tomorrow. Maybe getting some like actual separate character sheets going with some of these simplified designs and actually getting some colors on them. Because I realized I've gone and done a second character without even getting the first one posted, and that's not helpful. Ollie V1. We'll start getting, obviously Ollie Pomp Flats needs to go in there, but then I think, yeah, let's get all of these into here too. Then it's easy enough to toggle that. We can show the Salt ones, we can show the Olivine ones, keeping stuff nice and sorted. The way it should be. Well, with that, I am probably going to have to head out for the night. Thanks to everyone who came by. It's been fun. I'll just pop this up so we've got something to look at while I wrap up. Obviously, you're welcome to come back. You're welcome to not come back. It's not required one way or the other. We're happy to have had you here. Happy to have given you a little bit of entertainment, or at least background noise this evening. And, you know, I don't have anyone to raid yet. I am really new to this. This is only week 2 of my streaming. So, in lieu of that, until I figure out how raids work, I'm going to just have to let y'all go for the evening. So, I'll leave it on the music for just a minute or two, and then we'll probably close out here. Have a good one, y'all.